The gold ring slipped from Catherine's trembling fingers, bouncing twice on the weathered bar before settling near a puddle of whiskey. She stared at it, her mother's ring, the last thing of value she owned. Then at the barkeep's scarred face. "That'll get you 3 nights," he grunted, scooping it up without ceremony. "Rooms upstairs, no visitors." Catherine nodded, too exhausted to speak. 3 nights. Then what? She'd fled her uncle's house in Charleston with nothing but the clothes on her back and her mother's ring, running from a marriage contract signed to a man twice her age who'd already buried 2 wives. The journey west had drained her savings. Now, stranded in this dusty Arizona Territory town, she had 3 days before she'd be sleeping in the street. The saloon door burst open, bringing with it the smell of dust and gunpowder. "Easy now, Marshall. No need for that iron." A man's voice, low and steady, cut through the sudden tension in the room. "Before I continue, I'd love to ask a small favor. If you're enjoying this story, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video. It truly means the world to us and motivates us to bring you more quality content like this. Also, I'm curious, where are you listening from today? Let me know in the comments. Catherine turned with the rest of the patrons. A tall figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, hands raised slightly, fingers spread. As he stepped into the lamplight, she caught her breath. Dark hair fell past his collar, and a scar traced his left cheekbone. 2 guns hung low on his hips, worn handles catching the light. The silver star on the marshal's chest gleamed as he kept his weapon trained on the newcomer. "Elijah Kane," the marshal said flatly. "Thought you'd know better than to show your face here." "Just passing through, Marshal Sykes. No trouble." Elijah's green eyes swept the room, pausing briefly on Catherine before returning to the lawman. "Your very existence is trouble. The reward on your head's up to 3,000 now." 3,000. Catherine's mind raced. That was a fortune. Enough to buy passage anywhere, start fresh, never fear hunger or forced marriage again. "Then I reckon I best not linger." Elijah touched the brim of his hat and turned, movements unhurried despite the cocked pistol aimed at his spine. Catherine watched him go, something twisting in her chest. An outlaw, a wanted man, everything her mother had warned her against. Her father had been shot by a road agent when she was 12. She'd sworn on his grave she'd never have anything to do with such men. That night, lying on the thin mattress upstairs, Catherine stared at the ceiling. Her stomach cramped with hunger. She'd used her last coins for a stale biscuit that morning. 3 days, then back to the streets, or worse. Charleston seemed a world away, and even there, her uncle would just drag her back to that awful marriage. Unless the thought arrived fully formed, terrible and tempting. $3,000. She could tell the marshal where the outlaw was headed. Collect the reward, start over somewhere safe. She was a practical woman. Survival demanded difficult choices. The next morning, Catherine found Marshal Sykes at his office. He looked up from paperwork, surprise flickering across his weathered face. "Miss?" "Hartford, Catherine Hartford." She smoothed her dusty skirt, choosing her words carefully. "I understand there's a reward for information on Elijah Kane." Sykes leaned back in his chair, studying her. "You know something? I might, but I need assurance the reward would be paid immediately upon his capture. You're not the first person to come asking." His tone held warning. "Kane's got friends, lots of them. You cross him, you best be ready for consequences." Catherine lifted her chin. I'm ready for whatever keeps me from starving, Marshal. He regarded her for a long moment. He headed south out of town last night, probably making for the Canyonlands. You telling me something different? She wasn't. She knew nothing. But desperation made liars of honest women. Give me a day to find out where he's really going. I'll need provisions for the journey. Sykes's eyes narrowed. You planning to track an outlaw alone? I'm planning to survive, sir, one way or another. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a small leather pouch. $50. Advance. You bring me Kane, you get the rest. You disappear with my money. He let the threat hang unfinished. Catherine took the pouch, feeling its weight. Enough for weeks of food, a new dress, a stagecoach ticket to California, maybe, but only if she could actually find Elijah Kane and betray him to the law. She bought supplies, bread, dried meat, a canteen, and asked careful questions. The blacksmith's boy had seen Kane's horse, a distinctive paint gelding, heading toward Copper Ridge, not south. The washerwoman mentioned old mines in those hills, abandoned since the silver ran out. Good places for a man to hide. Catherine rented a mule, the cheapest option, and rode out at dawn. She'd ridden as a girl, before her father died and everything changed. The motion came back to her, though her thighs ached within an hour. Copper Ridge rose red and stark against the pale sky. The trail narrowed, winding between boulders and scrub brush. Twice she nearly turned back. What was she doing? She was no bounty hunter, no tracker. Just a desperate woman chasing a dangerous dream. The mule's ears pricked forward suddenly. Catherine tensed, scanning the rocks ahead. I wondered if you'd come. She spun in the saddle. Elijah Kane sat on a flat boulder 20 feet away, completely relaxed, one leg drawn up, forearm resting on his knee. No guns drawn, though she could see them clearly now in the bright sunlight. How did you? You're not subtle, Miss Hartford. Asking questions all over town about where I went. Buying trail supplies. Heading this direction. He tilted his head. Question is why? Catherine's throat went dry. The mule shifted beneath her, sensing her fear. The marshal sent you? He didn't sound angry, just curious. No, the truth slipped out. I went to him about the reward. Something flickered in those green eyes. Not surprise. Disappointment, maybe. $3,000, he said quietly. That'd solve a lot of problems for a woman alone. Yes, she whispered. So why warn me? You could have brought Sykes yourself. Caught me sleeping, maybe. I don't know. Catherine's hands trembled on the reins. I don't know why I'm here at all. My father was killed by outlaws. I swore I'd never... She couldn't finish. Elijah rose in one fluid motion, approaching slowly. The mule stood steady, apparently unbothered by him. He stopped a few feet away, looking up at her. Your father, what was his name? Samuel Hartford. He ran a dry goods store outside Richmond. They shot him for $47 and a gold watch. I'm sorry. The words held weight, genuine regret. That's a hard thing for a girl to see. I was 12. I watched them right away. Catherine blinked against sudden tears. And now I'm here, trying to sell out another man for money. What does that make me? Desperate, Elijah said simply. Same thing that makes most outlaws. Same thing that made me. What did you do? The question escaped before she could stop it. He smiled, but without humor. Which time? The law's got a long list, but the first thing, the thing that put a price on my head, was stealing medicine for my sister. She was dying of fever. The doctor wouldn't come without payment up front. So I took what I needed from his office. Catherine stared at him. They wanted you for that? Wanted me for destruction of property, theft, and assaulting an officer when the deputy tried to stop me. His jaw tightened. Sarah died anyway, 2 days later. After that, I figured I was damned already, might as well earn it. The sun beat down on them. Catherine's resolve crumbled like dry earth. I can't do it, she said finally. I can't betray you. Then you're a fool. His voice was gentle. That money could save you. Maybe I'm tired of what survival costs. She met his eyes. Maybe my father wouldn't want me to become what killed him. Elijah studied her for a long moment. Then he reached up, offering his hand. Come down. Your mule needs water, and you look half dead from the heat. She shouldn't. Every instinct screamed danger. But Catherine placed her hand in his and let him help her dismount. His camp was tucked in a shallow cave, sheltered from view. A small fire burned, coffee pot bubbling. The paint horse grazed nearby, hobbled but content. Sit. Elijah poured coffee into a tin cup and handed it to her. When'd you last eat? Yesterday. Some bread. He pulled jerky and hardtack from his saddlebags, pushing them toward her. Not much, but it'll help. Catherine ate slowly, aware of his gaze. Why are you being kind to me? Why'd you ride out here to warn me instead of bringing the marshal? I asked first. That almost smile again. Fair enough. I'm being kind because you look like someone who's had too much unkindness already. And because you made a choice back there. A hard one that most people wouldn't make. It was stupid. Maybe. Or maybe it was brave. He refilled her coffee. Tell me about Charleston. About why you're out here alone. So she did. The words spilled out. Her father's death. The years of poverty that followed. Her uncle taking them in, but making Catherine's mother pay for his charity. With endless labor. Her mother's death last winter. The marriage contract her uncle signed without asking her. His name is Theodore Marsh, 63 years old. He wants a young wife to nurse him and bear him a son. Her hands shook. He came to dinner once. He touched my hair, said it would darken our children nicely, like I was a broodmare. So you ran. I ran. Catherine looked up. And I'm still running. I don't know how to stop. Elijah was quiet for a moment. Then, you ever fire a gun? What? A gun. Have you shot one? No. My father didn't believe in women handling weapons. Your father's gone, and you're in territory where a woman needs to protect herself. He stood, drawing one of his revolvers. Come here. For the next hour, Elijah taught her how to hold the pistol, how to aim, how to breathe and squeeze the trigger rather than pulling. The first shot made her jump. The second went wide. But the third hit the target, a dried cactus skeleton, dead center. Good, he said, standing close behind her, his hands steadying her arm. Again. Catherine's heart hammered, but not from fear of the gun. His presence behind her was overwhelming. The heat of him, the smell of leather and sage, and something uniquely him. When his fingers brushed hers, adjusting her grip, electricity shot up her arm. Focus, he murmured near her ear. Don't think about anything but the target. She fired. Another hit. Better. He stepped back, and she immediately felt the loss of his warmth. They spent the afternoon like that, shooting practice, then how to reload, how to clean the weapon. He gave her a smaller pistol from his gear. It was my sister's, he said quietly. She never got to use it. You should have it. Elijah, I can't. Yes, you can, and you will. Promise me you'll carry it. Catherine looked at the gun in her palm, then at him. Why are you doing this? Because when you leave here, you'll be alone again, and I need to know you can defend yourself. Something raw crossed his face. I couldn't protect Sarah. But maybe I can help you protect yourself. When I leave, her stomach dropped. You're sending me away? You can't stay with me, Catherine. I'm wanted. Men come looking for me. It's dangerous. More dangerous than being alone? Than starving? She stood, facing him. I have nowhere to go. No one waiting for me. At least with you. With me, you'd be a fugitive too. They'd charge you with aiding an outlaw. You'd hang right beside me if we got caught. Then we won't get caught. Catherine, please. The word broke from her. Don't send me back to nothing. Let me stay. I'll work. I can cook, clean, whatever you need. Just don't make me go back to being alone. Elijah ran a hand through his dark hair, frustration evident. You don't know what you're asking. I know exactly what I'm asking. I'm asking for a chance, for a choice. I've had neither in so long. He turned away, shoulders tight. When he spoke, his voice was rough. I can't promise you safety. I don't want safety. I want to live. Really live. Not just survive. You'll have to keep moving. Never settle. Always looking over your shoulder. Better than looking at the ceiling above Theodore Marsh's bed. That made him turn back. He studied her face, searching for something. Finally, he nodded once. 1 week. Trial. If you want to leave after that, I'll take you to the nearest town. Give you money for a fresh start. Agreed? Agreed. They shook hands, formal and awkward. His palm was calloused, warm. Catherine felt the contact all the way to her core. That night, sleeping by the fire, she listened to the coyotes howl in the distance and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. The week became 2, then 3. They moved constantly, never staying more than a few nights in one place. Elijah taught her to track, to read the land, to move quietly through brush. He showed her which plants were edible, which poisonous, how to start a fire without matches, how to read weather in the clouds. Catherine learned he wasn't the ruthless outlaw the wanted posters claimed. Yes, he'd robbed stages and stolen horses, but he only took from large companies and wealthy travelers, never from families or small folk. He'd helped stranded settlers fix wagon wheels, shared supplies with struggling homesteaders, once rescued a child from a flooded creek at risk to himself. The law doesn't care about context, he told her one evening, cleaning his guns by firelight. They just see the crimes, not the reasons. Do the reasons matter? To me, they do. To God, maybe. Not to Judge Harrison, though. He's got a personal vendetta since I relieved him of his fancy carriage and $400. Elijah smiled grimly. That money fed 20 families through winter, but he wants me dead for the embarrassment. Catherine watched his hands move over the weapon, efficient and practiced. Do you regret it? This life? Every day. He looked up, and not at all. That makes sense? Yes, she said softly. It does. The walls between them crumbled slowly. She learned he'd been a soldier briefly, hated the violence and brutality, that he read poetry, carried a slim volume of Whitman in his saddlebag, pages worn soft, that he missed his sister every day. Sometimes woke from dreams of her calling his name. He learned she could sing beautifully, old hymns her mother taught her, that she was afraid of snakes but not of storms, that she'd wanted to be a teacher once, before poverty closed that door. Why a teacher? He asked. Because knowledge is freedom. If I'd known more, maybe I could have escaped sooner. Maybe I could have saved my mother. Her voice caught. She was so tired at the end, just worn down to nothing. Elijah reached across the fire, taking her hand. The gesture was simple, comforting, but the touch ignited something neither acknowledged aloud. The first time someone came hunting Elijah, Catherine was gathering firewood. She heard horses, male voices. Her heart stopped. Seen a man matching Cain's description. Worth 3,000, Jake. Split 4 ways, that's... Catherine dropped the wood and ran back to camp, silent as Elijah had taught her. He was already saddling the paint, movements swift. How many? He asked without looking up. 4, I think, maybe 5. Get your things, fast. They rode hard for 2 hours, finally losing the bounty hunters in a maze of canyons. When they stopped, Catherine's legs trembled so badly she could barely dismount. You did good, Elijah said, helping her down. Stayed calm, moved quiet. That probably saved us. I was terrified. Being scared doesn't mean you're not brave. It means you understand the danger and keep going anyway. His hands lingered on her waist. Thank you. For what? For warning me, for staying calm, for... He trailed off, his green eyes intense on hers. The moment stretched. Catherine's breath caught. He was close, so close. If she just leaned forward, Elijah stepped back. We should move. Put more distance between us and them. Disappointment crashed through her, but she nodded, remounting. That night, lying in her bedroll, Catherine acknowledged the truth she'd been avoiding. She was falling in love with Elijah Cain. The realization terrified her. She'd sworn never to love an outlaw, had built her life's philosophy on avoiding exactly this situation. Yet here she was, her heart racing whenever he smiled, her skin electric whenever they touched accidentally. It was impossible, doomed, dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with bounty hunters. She should leave, take the money he'd offered, and start over somewhere safe. Forget the wanted man with the scarred face and gentle hands. But when morning came, she stayed. They reached an old homestead a week later, abandoned, half-collapsed, but with a functioning well and intact root cellar. Elijah decided they could risk staying a few days, rest the horses, replenish supplies. Catherine scrubbed years of dust from the main room, while he repaired the door and cleared debris. Working together felt natural, domestic, like building something, however temporary. That evening she found wildflowers growing near the well, cheerful yellow blooms defying the harsh landscape. On impulse, she picked a handful and put them in a tin cup on the makeshift table. When Elijah came in, he stopped, staring at the flowers. "Catherine, they're pretty," she said defensively. This place was so dark. He crossed to the table, touching one delicate petal. Sarah loved wildflowers, used to pick them everywhere we went. His voice was thick. "Thank you." "Elijah," she moved toward him. "I didn't mean to. No, it's good. It's..." He looked at her, and the raw emotion in his eyes made her breath stop. "You make this bearable, this life, this running. You make it feel like living instead of just surviving. That's what you've done for me," she whispered. They stood inches apart. Catherine could feel the heat radiating from him, see the pulse hammering in his throat. His hand rose slowly, cupping her cheek. "I shouldn't want you," he said roughly. "I've got nothing to offer. No future, no safety, no... I don't care." "Catherine, She kissed him. For a heartbeat, he froze. Then his arms came around her, pulling her close, and the world narrowed to just this. His mouth on hers, his hands in her hair. The desperate way they held each other like drowning swimmers finding shore. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elijah rested his forehead against hers. This is foolish. I know. We can't, I know. If they catch me, they'll hang you too, just for being with me. I know. Catherine pulled back enough to see his face. I don't care. I swore never to love an outlaw. But Elijah, her voice broke. I'm breaking every vow I made to myself, and I can't stop. He made a sound, half laugh, half groan, and kissed her again, softer this time, tender, like she was precious, like he couldn't believe she was real. They spent the night talking, holding each other, stealing kisses like thieves. He told her about his childhood on a farm in Missouri, how beautiful the land was before the war ruined everything. She told him about her dreams of teaching, of having a small house with a garden, of peace. Maybe we could have that, she ventured. Somewhere far away. Change our names, start over. Catherine, his voice held gentle warning. Men like me don't get happy endings. Why not? Because we've done too much wrong. The scales don't balance. That's not true. She sat up, fierce. You've helped people, saved people. You're not evil, Elijah. You're just wanted. By the law, by bounty hunters, by anyone greedy enough to collect. He touched her face. I won't risk you. If something happens to me, you run. Promise me. I'm not promising that. Catherine, no. I've spent my whole life running. From my uncle, from poverty, from danger. I'm tired of running. If something happens, we face it together. You're impossible. And you're mine. The words escaped before she could stop them. Elijah's eyes darkened. He pulled her down into another kiss, this one, hungry, claiming. Say it again, he murmured against her lips. You're mine. God help me, he breathed. I'm yours too. 3 days later, Marshal Sykes found them. Catherine was washing clothes at the well when she heard the horses. She looked up, heart sinking, to see 5 men approaching. The marshal in the lead, 4 deputies flanking him. Elijah! She ran for the cabin. He emerged, already armed, face grim. Get behind me. No, now, Catherine. But she stood her ground, hand on the pistol he'd given her. Sykes reined in his horse, regarding them both. Kane, Miss Hartford, didn't expect to find you two together. Let her go, Elijah said flatly. She's got nothing to do with this. That's so? Because from where I'm sitting, she's aiding a fugitive. That's a hanging offense. Catherine's blood ran cold. She didn't know who I was, Elijah lied smoothly. I forced her to come with me. That true, Miss Hartford? She opened her mouth, unsure what to say. Elijah's life or her own, she couldn't sacrifice either. I asked you a question, Sykes pressed. No, Catherine said clearly. He didn't force me. I chose to stay. Catherine. Shut up. I won't. She stepped forward, chin raised. I know what he is, Marshal. I know about the reward. And I don't care. Hang me if you must, but I won't let you take him without a fight. Brave words. Sykes's hand rested on his gun, but misguided. Kane, you're coming back to stand trial. You can surrender peaceful-like, or we can do this the hard way. If I surrender, you let her go, free and clear. Elijah, no. Do we have a deal, Marshal? Sykes considered. You got my word. She goes free. Don't trust him, Catherine whispered urgently. Please. Elijah holstered his gun slowly, hands raised. I'm trusting you to keep your word, Sykes. You're known as an honorable man. Don't prove me wrong. 2 deputies moved forward with shackles. Catherine watched, helpless and furious, as they bound Elijah's wrists. He never took his eyes off her. Be smart, he said quietly. Live well. Forget me. Never, she whispered. As they started to lead him away, Catherine's mind raced. There had to be something, some way. Then she saw it. The rifle leaning against the cabin wall. 20 feet away. If she could reach it before the deputies reacted. No, that was suicide. 5 armed men against her fumbling attempt. She'd die, and Elijah would still hang. Think, Catherine, think. Wait! The word bursts from her. Marshal, I have information about other outlaws, the Decker Gang. They're planning to rob the bank in Silver Creek. It was a lie. She had no such information. But Sykes paused. How do you know this? I overheard them 2 weeks ago in a saloon. They didn't know I was listening. She spoke fast, building the story. 4 men. They're waiting for the monthly payroll delivery. It's worth $10,000, maybe more. Catherine, stop, Elijah said, his voice strained. She ignored him. Let him go, Marshal. Take me instead. Use me as bait. I can lead you to them. That's worth more than 1 outlaw. That's the stupidest plan I've ever heard, Sykes said flatly. But it's worth considering, one of the deputies put in. The Decker Gang's been hitting banks all summer. If we could catch them— She's lying, Elijah cut in. There's no gang. She's trying to save me. Am I? Catherine met his eyes. Or am I trying to save myself? $10,000. Marshal, the Decker Gang, the 4 Decker brothers and their associates. All you have to do is let 1 tired outlaw go and take me to Silver Creek instead. Sykes studied her, suspicion warring with greed on his weathered face. You're bluffing. Then you lose nothing by checking. If I'm lying, you can arrest me and still go after Elijah later. But if I'm telling the truth— She let the implication hang. The moment stretched impossibly long. Then Sykes cursed. Release him, Marshal, 1 deputy protested. I said release him. If she's lying, I'll hunt Cain to the ends of the earth. But if she's not— He looked at Catherine. You better be right about this, Miss Hartford. Because if you're not, I'm charging you with obstruction, aiding a fugitive, and anything else I can think of. They unlocked Elijah's shackles. He immediately reached for Catherine, gripping her shoulders. What are you doing? His voice was low, urgent. Saving you. You're going to get yourself killed. Maybe, but at least I'll die having made my own choice. She rose on her toes, kissing him hard. I love you. Remember that. Catherine, move along, Cain, Sykes ordered. Before I change my mind. Miss Hartford and I have business in Silver Creek. I'm not leaving without her. Yes, you are. Catherine pushed him toward his horse. Go. Please, trust me. I can't. You have to. She blinked back tears. I'll find you, I promise. But right now, you need to ride. For a moment, she thought he'd refuse. Then he pulled her into a fierce embrace, burying his face in her hair. Don't die, he whispered. Don't you dare die on me. Then live, she whispered back. Live for both of us. He mounted the paint horse, looking back at her one last time. The anguish on his face nearly broke her resolve. Then he turned and rode, disappearing into the canyon. Catherine watched until he was gone. Then she turned to face Marshal Sykes, squaring her shoulders. Let's go to Silver Creek. The ride took 2 days. Catherine's mind worked frantically the whole time, trying to figure out how to escape this trap she'd built. She had no information about any gang. Sykes would realize that as soon as they reached Silver Creek. Then he'd arrest her, or worse. But Elijah was free. That was what mattered. They arrived at Silver Creek at dusk. The town was larger than she'd expected. 2 main streets, a bank, several saloons, a hotel. Sykes took her straight to the marshal's office, a sturdy building with barred windows. All right, Miss Hartford, show me this gang. Catherine's mouth went dry. They're staying at the boarding house, Mrs. Chen's place, on the edge of town. It was a guess. Every town had a boarding house, and they tended to be named after the proprietors. Sykes studied her, then nodded to his deputies. "Check it out," quietly. While they waited, Catherine sat on a hard bench, trying not to show her terror. This was it. When the deputies came back empty-handed, she'd be arrested, possibly hanged. Was saving Elijah worth her life? Yes. Without hesitation, yes. An hour passed, then another. Sykes paced, growing impatient. Catherine's hands trembled. Then boots on the boardwalk, and the deputies burst in. "Marshal, you're not going to believe this. There's actually men matching the Decker description at Mrs. Chen's. 4 of them, heavily armed, asking about the bank schedule." Catherine's jaw dropped. Impossible. She'd made up the entire story. Sykes grabbed her arm. "How'd you know?" I told you. I overheard them." "Where exactly? When?" Her mind raced. "Socorro. 2 weeks ago. The Silver Dollar Saloon. They were drinking, didn't think anyone was listening. It was all lies. But somehow, impossibly, it had turned out true. Sykes organized a raid. Catherine watched from the marshal's office as they surrounded the boarding house. Gunfire erupted. It lasted less than 5 minutes. When the deputies emerged, they had 4 men in custody and bags of stolen money. "Bank robbery up in Prescott last month," one deputy explained, rifling through the evidence. "They've been running from the law ever since." Sykes turned to Catherine, expression unreadable. "You got lucky." "Yes," she breathed. "I did. Or you're smarter than you look." He studied her. "Either way, you held up your end. You're free to go." Catherine could barely believe it. "Just like that?" "Just like that. Though I'd advise you to stay far away from Elijah Kane. Next time I catch you together, there won't be any deals." She nodded, not trusting her voice. That night, Catherine bought a horse with the last of her money and rode out. She had no idea where to find Elijah. But she'd figure it out. She always did. 3 days of searching led her to a small canyon Elijah had mentioned once. A place he'd camped before, with good water and shelter. And there, impossibly, she found the paint horse grazing. "Elijah?" She dismounted, heart pounding. He emerged from the shadows like a ghost. And then she was in his arms, both of them laughing and crying at once. "How?" he demanded. "How are you alive? How did you escape?" "I didn't escape. Sykes let me go." "That's impossible." "The gang was real, Elijah. I made up the story, but somehow they were actually there. 4 men matching my description, planning a robbery." "You're telling me you guessed?" "I'm telling me I got impossibly lucky." She pulled back to see his face. "Or maybe it was fate. Maybe we're meant to be together." "Catherine." He cupped her face in his hands. "What you did, trading yourself for me, was the easiest choice I've ever made." "But I swore never to love an outlaw," she said, echoing her earlier words. A sob caught in her throat. Relief, joy, terror, all mixed together. "Then break the vow," he murmured, pulling her close. "And come with me." She looked up into his green eyes, saw her future there, uncertain, dangerous, but vibrantly alive. "Where are we going?" "Canada. New names, new life. I have money saved, enough to buy land, start a ranch. We'd have to be careful, but—" He hesitated. "We could try. Really try. Would you want that? A life with you, a real life, not just running? I can't promise it'll work. I can't promise we won't always be looking over our shoulders. But I want to try. For you, with you." Catherine kissed him, pouring everything into it. Her fear, her hope, her absolute certainty. Yes, she whispered against his lips. Yes to all of it. They rode north the next morning, two figures disappearing into the vast landscape. Behind them, wanted posters with Elijah's face fluttered in the wind. Ahead, an uncertain future waited. But Catherine Hartford, soon to be Catherine Kane, had never felt more certain of anything. 6 months later, in a small cabin near the Canadian border, they stood before a traveling preacher. Elijah wore his only clean shirt, his dark hair neatly combed. Catherine wore a simple dress, wildflowers in her hair. "Do you take this woman?" "I do," Elijah said, before the preacher finished. Catherine laughed, tears streaming down her face. "And I take this man. Outlaw, fugitive, best thing that ever happened to me." The preacher looked uncertain, but Elijah grinned and kissed her anyway. Their ranch started small. A cabin, a few horses, chickens. But it grew. Neighbors never asked questions about the couple who kept to themselves but helped anyone in need. About the man with the scarred face who could outshoot anyone but never sought violence. About the woman who taught the local children to read in her spare time, fulfilling her old dream. Sometimes, late at night, Catherine would wake to find Elijah at the window, watching the darkness. "Expecting trouble?" she'd ask. Always expecting it, but hoping it never comes. And if it does, he'd turn, pulling her close. Then we face it together, like we always have. Years passed. The wanted posters faded. New outlaws became the law's focus. Elijah let his beard grow, and Catherine cut her hair short. They became new people, built a new life. But on quiet evenings, sitting on their porch watching the sunset, Elijah would take Catherine's hand and say, "Thank you." "For what?" "For breaking your vow, for choosing me." And Catherine would smile, squeezing his hand. "Best decision I ever made." They lived carefully, loved fiercely, and built something real from the ashes of their old lives. Not a fairy tale ending. They were too practical for that. But a good ending. An honest one. The kind of ending worth fighting for. The kind of ending that proved, sometimes, the most dangerous choice is also the right one. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Are you listening at home, during your commute, or perhaps while working? Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Catherine and Elijah's journey? Your feedback means the world to us.